welcome to my channel. My name is Sharon, and this is a channel that is dedicated to all things related to narcissism. I've been married to a covert narcissist for almost 20 years. I'm separated from him now, and what I do with this channel is I use my real-life experiences to get information out there to people about what narcissism really is, what it looks like, what it does to you, and what it does to your family. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about narcissists and jealousy. Narcissists are people that have an inflated ego and an unrealistic sense of self-importance. They wreak absolute havoc on relationships because of their desire to assert their power and superiority over their partner and their appalling lack of concern for their partner's feelings or well-being. Narcissists are highly abnormal, disordered people. They have a mental illness, a personality disorder. They violate basic social rules. They lack empathy. They show no empathy. They are entitled, and they create their own reality from moment to moment. And crucially, for somebody who's in a relationship with someone like this, they don't care about anybody else. So at some point, what often happens to people in relationships with narcissists, they come to this horrifying reality, this realization that their partner actually doesn't care about them at all. It is the most stunning moment. When this happened to me, it was like someone slapped me across the face. I realized suddenly, wow, my husband actually doesn't care about me at all. And not only does he not care about me, he seems to actively want bad things to happen to me. He seems happy when I'm upset, when something bad has happened. That's narcissism. And narcissists are very jealous people. They're jealous of everybody because a narcissist lives in a very black and white world. They consider themselves either better or worse than everybody else. You, everybody in their life, they look at themselves against you. It's a nonstop competition. Somebody that's beneath them, they just have complete contempt for. Somebody that's above them, they'll sometimes have contempt for this person. Other times, they'll try to become this person or impress this person. This is a narcissist's day-to-day life, and they get jealous in a ruthless way. When they're jealous, they just don't wish they had something someone else has or want to be like somebody. They are people that will sabotage others. They don't have any concern. They will do anything to get themselves on top. So a narcissist, when you're in a relationship with someone like this, they are in competition with you. So I'm going to talk about 6 ways that a narcissist's jealousy is inflamed. The first one that I'm going to talk about is competition. So you're in a relationship with a narcissist. They look at you as their direct competition, and they are ruthless about competition. They must beat you at all times. Whether it's real or perceived, this is important to them. I had been married for about a year and I won a photo contest. So I like to take pictures. I enter contests. My ex is not a photographer. He's never entered a contest. There's no competition with us at all when it comes to photography. So I found out that I won this contest. So I said to him, oh my gosh, look, I won this contest. I can't believe it. I even won $100. So I was so excited. So you would think your partner would say, oh, that's great, congratulations, or wow, wonderful. No. Now, this was not a huge prestigious contest, but still, it wouldn't have mattered if this was just something in my local newspaper, but he could not be excited for me. Instead, what he said was, it was a pet photo contest. He said, oh, what photo did you enter? So I was like, oh, it's just a picture of the rabbit. Oh, that's why you won, because there were 5 winners and 4 of the 5 were of dogs and cats. And then there was my rabbit. So he said, well, I'd like to see you win with a cat or a dog. They needed an outlier animal. So you just were really lucky to have that outlier animal. So then he felt good about himself because I didn't really win. It was like a pity thing. They needed some other animal. So that's how I got in. That's how he was very happy to look at it. But then what ends up happening with narcissists is that they end up with plausible deniability. Because if I had said to him, that hurt my feelings when you said that, he could have easily just said, oh, you're being so sensitive. No, it's great. I didn't mean that. No, it's fantastic. That's awesome. I'm so excited that you won. Because now he feels good about himself because he's already convinced himself that I actually did not really win it. So then he could just say whatever he has to say to make me feel better. That's something that a narcissist will do. So that's the first one, competition. Number 2 they have low self-esteem. This can trigger their jealousy as well. Narcissists have very fragile self-esteem behind the confident mask that they wear. It's all fake. So the day after I got married, so I've been married for one day, it hadn't even been 24 hours. And we got married at a hotel because my ex and I are different religions, so we couldn't get married at a church. So the manager of the hotel comes up to me. His name is Eric, and Eric said, "Sharon, we loved your gown. It looks so good. We're looking for a bride to put on the pamphlet of the hotel brochure about weddings. So could you give us your photographer information? We want to buy some of the photos from him." So that was so exciting, right? I was like, wow, oh my gosh. So my ex comes over to the end of this conversation, and so he didn't hear the whole thing. What he missed was the part where he wasn't going to be in the brochure. It was just me. So he didn't hear that, and so he's talking to me, and when I mentioned that, his face fell. What do you mean? You were actually talking to Eric when I was being so rudely thought of? Nobody thought that this might be hurtful to me. Why wouldn't they want my photo? Why would you even be okay with this? How could you do this to me? This was just shocking. This was literally the first day, and it was no big deal. But for him, he was leveled, crushed, hurt, insulted. How dare I, as his wife, even consider this type of thing? So later, I mentioned this to my mother, and this is another thing when I talked about the plausible deniability. This is what happens to people when they're in relationships with narcissists, because you make excuses up for this person because you can't believe that it's real, that they're actually as cruel or rude as they seem. So I mentioned this to my mother, and she said to me, "Oh, wow, he must love that. His wife's a model." And I said to her, I made up an excuse. I was like, "Oh, yeah, he thinks it's awesome." And so now this is what happens. So this will happen over time in your marriage. You constantly do things like this. So then later, the marriage is over and you're telling people, "Well, geez, my ex has been a jerk from the very beginning." Other people are thinking about all these things that your ex did that they never even did. "Well, geez, when the brochure came out, he was really excited for her." No, he wasn't, but I let people think that, or he was actually happy that I won the photo contest, or a million other things that happened. Over time, these build up, and so the narcissist has this great reputation. Of course, the narcissist is using smear campaigns against you. So while you're telling everybody how great your spouse is, they're telling everybody how horrible you are. Like, he's probably telling people that I'm so vain, or I didn't want him in the brochure, that I talked Eric out of it. Because that's another thing that my ex, and I'll talk about this a little later, he convinces himself that I have these powers where I'm able to convince whoever I want of different things. It makes him feel good about himself that he's not actually in the position that he's really in. I am just this rude, vindictive person. So, talk about that in a minute. But that was number 2. They have low self-esteem. Number 3, you are happier than they are. Narcissists don't like happy people. A happy person is powerful and assertive. People are drawn to happy people. Somebody who is sad and depressed, they're weak and vulnerable. I mean, just think about if you went out somewhere, like just say you're at a party, you walk in, there's not a lot of people there, but you see 2 people. One person is kind of happy and bubbly, smiling, looking at you, smiling. Then you have another person and they're kind of sad and depressed in the corner. I mean, you're going to be drawn to the happy person. It's just normal. The narcissist is the weakened person. They are the depressed person. They don't have the ability, as part of their mental illness, to feel true joy. They're able to feel moments of happiness, but to feel contentment isn't something that a narcissist is able to feel. They're always feeling less than. They're always feeling depressed. So if you are not depressed, that's a problem. A narcissist is the type of person where if they're not happy, nobody can be happy. Several years ago, before we moved, I can't remember what the problem was now. There was some issue with the contract, and my ex was up late trying to handle this, and there's nothing I could do. I went to bed at one point. So he actually texted me. He was downstairs. I was upstairs. He texted me and was like, "What are you doing? Are you going to sleep?" So I said, "Yeah, I'm going to sleep." "How can you go to sleep when you know that I'm stressed out? When I have a problem here, you're just going to just sleep and I'll just handle the problem?" And I was thinking to myself, well, yeah, because there's nothing I can do about it. But he actually wanted me to come downstairs and sit with him, just sit there while he stressed out and was trying to deal with a problem that I couldn't do anything about. That's narcissism. They don't have any care or concern for anybody else. If they're going to be inconvenienced, well, so are you. Number 4, they're insecure. Insecurity triggers their jealousy as well. My ex and I got matching tattoos. We have each other's name on our bodies. When we went to the tattoo place, we went at the same time. We had different tattoo artists, but the appointment was at the same time. We weren't sitting right next to each other, so we were just having private conversations with our tattoo artists. The guy I went to was trying to talk me out of getting the tattoo. He told me, I wouldn't get this tattoo if I were you. I can't tell you how many people get tattoos like this and they regret it, and then they come back to me and they want it covered up. He's like, why don't you get something else? He's like, I'll work with you. We'll do whatever you want. We'll get something real nice. It'll be great. Of course, at the time, I insisted on getting the name tattoo. And today, of course, who's regretting it? Me. But anyway, so I have this tattoo that now I have to cover up every single day. But regardless, I got the tattoo, and I mentioned this to my ex later. I didn't think anything of it. It was just kind of like this funny thing, like, oh, you didn't want me to get your name. But it was just a joke. Like, it was fine. He was so offended by that. What do you mean? Why would he say that? Why would he say that about me? And I'm thinking to myself, oh, I'm just joking. It's fine. I'm like, whatever. I got the tattoo, didn't I? It's fine. I love the tattoo. You know, because I look at it like a normal, healthy person would have said, oh, well, don't worry about it. You're never going to regret it. But no, instead, he was all offended, all upset. How dare he? You know, that tattoo studio was horrible anyways. I would never go back there. I can't believe that. And you tipped him after he insulted me? This is what happens with the narcissist, you know. This is so typical. They want you to stick up for them even when nobody's even doing anything wrong. It was not personal. It was not insulting. But I don't know if he wanted me to make a big scene and start yelling and screaming at this person. But he definitely was insulted that somebody said that, because nobody said it about me. If it was the other way, if my tattoo artist said nothing but his had tried to talk him out of it, he would have been going on and on and on about this. But when it happens against them, they're so offended. He was just livid that I was okay with this. And they always make it seem like you are somehow plotting against them as well. So that is insecurity. Number 5, they want to be better than everybody else. So if they feel like somebody thinks they're not better than everybody else, that triggers their jealousy. So I can see this in my ex with his pain tolerance. So for some reason, he wants to tell me on a regular basis, or I used to do this, that he can handle pain better than me. I've never said that I can handle pain particularly well. In fact, I probably can't. But he does it all the time. So he has this bad back, and he used to get these shots every couple months, and he would have these big needles going to his back. He loved to talk about this. Like, we're all supposed to be so impressed. How much pain, and he'll just tell me, you couldn't do it. There's no way you could do it. You'd be crying if this was you. You would cry if you had to have these shots. So I've said to him before when he said this, well, try having a baby. I've had 2 babies. You don't think that hurts? I handled that. I managed it. Well, yeah, but you had medication. I'd like to see you do it without medication. You know, this type of thing. There's like this competition. It's not, okay, whatever, I have these back shots, you had a baby, or you broke your arm. No, it's, I am better than you. You couldn't handle this. And he will keep going until I finally say, yeah, you're right. And then, of course, you do it to shut them up. So all these things build up. So you're subconsciously, enforcing what the narcissist is saying, giving them this belief that they're better than you. You're handing everything over to them, because for you, you're like, whatever, okay, fine. You handle pain more than me. I really don't care. But all these things add up, and they're important to the narcissist, and they're using this against you later, that you have admitted that they're better than you, and they're keeping track. They have points. Number 6, if you are stealing their attention, that's going to trigger their their jealousy. The narcissist cannot tolerate anybody getting any attention. So something my ex does, and I said I was going to mention this a little while ago. My ex has convinced himself that I somehow have this ability to convince other people to do anything. So when I've had to have the police come over, because he was scaring me, because he was dangerous, I had to have the police come over. They took him out of the house. According to him, it's because I was flirting with the police officers. This is why. If I hadn't been flirting with the police officers, this wouldn't have happened. When he was diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, it was because I was flirting with the psychiatrist. So my husband, my ex, has this issue. He just looks down on women in general. He believes that women just use sex appeal to get anything that they want. A couple of years ago, I was out with my kids in this parking lot, and a cop came up to me when he saw the car, and he noticed that I had the little the registration on the car was expired. My ex hadn't paid it. He was the one that used to pay all the bills. He hadn't paid it. I wasn't even aware of this, so I had no idea. Cop is like, "Oh, I'm supposed to impound your car," and I was like, I was just like, I didn't know what to say. I was horrified. I was like, oh my gosh, now what am I going to do? I'm like 45 minutes from the house and be stuck on the side of the road with the kids. Then the cop said, you know what? He's like, I'm going to pretend I didn't even see it. All right. He's like, just promise me you'll get this fixed. I'll let you whatever. I didn't see it. I'm walking away. Bye. And it was just like this nice thing he did. He didn't have to do it. It was a nice thing he did. So I later told my ex this. Oh, so what, were you flirting with him? You're flirting with this guy? So this is what happened. So I'm at work and you're out with the kids flirting with other men. I'm telling you now, that is so not my personality, but that's how he always saw me. I couldn't have anything good happen without it being a consequence of something I was doing to hurt him. It's always that way. He doesn't look at it like, oh, wow, oh, thank goodness, that would have cost a couple $100s to get the car out of the impound and, having to pay this late fee and all this stuff. He didn't look at it that way. It was, I must be flirting. He did the same thing with our pastor. He said that because the pastor told me that getting a divorce was acceptable in our situation. Well, what, you're flirting with him? You're making it seem like you're available? It always has to be that. It can never be that actually maybe he's wrong, or maybe somebody agrees with me for real valid reasons, that I'm not just flirting with every single person that's in my life. That doesn't happen at all. But for him, this is how he always saw things. It made him feel better about himself. It had nothing to do with him. It was just because I was out of control. And then he can use that to look down on me and look at himself as a victim. There's nothing he can do. I'm just flirting my way all through town, and he's just this innocent person who's never done anything wrong. And it's just too bad that he has this horrible wife who he's probably talking about behind my back, telling people these stories, but twisting them in a different way. So these are some of the things that narcissists get jealous about, and some of the consequences of it are that your life becomes a living hell. Jealousy happens to everybody to a degree, but pathological jealousy and envy, this is somebody that will make your life miserable, because you cannot live a normal life with somebody like this. They're always in competition with you. They're always looking for a way to make you feel bad, and it works. You're with a narcissist and you feel horrible about yourself most of the time. The longer the relationship goes on, that you end up just feeling demoralized completely. You're not the person that you used to be. People get in relationships with narcissists and they're one way. At the end of the relationship, they are literally a shell of the person that they were. I don't know if you've ever seen pictures. I've seen this several times. They'll show U.S. presidents a picture of them when they go into office and they look young and vigorous and they don't have any gray hair. Then they show them 4 or 8 years later and they look like they've aged like 20 years. They have like white hair, they got wrinkles all over their faces. They're showing like the stress of the job. It kind of reminds me of this with narcissism. You go into the relationship one way. At the end of the relationship, you are haggard. You are not the same person, and you are completely demoralized. You are leveled by this person. If you are in a relationship with a narcissist, I want to offer hope for you though. I am still married technically to my ex. I'm in the process. I'm just about ready to get the divorce at this point, so I still have a ways to go. However, I've been outside of the relationship long enough to taste freedom, to taste life after narcissism. If you can get yourself to the point where you get out of the relationship, you will feel so much better. Being with somebody who is constantly putting you down, constantly trying to hurt you, is only going to make your life miserable. We all have one life to live. And I know it's horrible for me to be sitting here and saying, oh, you should end your relationship. but I'm telling you this because it really, truly is for your own good. If you are with a narcissist, you are never going to have the happiness that you deserve, the happiness that is your God-given right. So please put yourself first. It's not narcissistic to do that. Look at the way that you could be living and take a step every day to get there. And I promise you, you're going to feel so much better and you're going to have a new life on the horizon. My life has changed dramatically. I have love in my life. I have good people in my life. I'm happy. When I was with my ex, I was a completely different person. I was isolated, miserable, and depressed. It's a night and day difference. Thank you so much for watching this video. Very grateful for everybody who watches my videos. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Please like the video. And if all goes well, I will see you all on Monday, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. God bless.